Hit it.
Hey, all my worthy viewers and Fleming Film Show fanatics. It's me, JD, your Review Master, and we're here to talk Spider-Man because the new Spider-Man is coming out later on this month. And here to discuss it with me is your host, Robbie Fleming.
Hello, Justin. How you been?
I'm good, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm alright. Hello, everybody, by the way. Yeah, I was thinking about doing British actresses, but then I thought to myself, no, Spider-Man's coming out. Let's talk Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. One of my favourite characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but overall, probably my favourite Marvel superhero. What do you think to Spider-Man?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some different iterations of it, and even some animated versions of it. So it's definitely bounced around a lot. It's kind of like Batman, we get a lot of different takes and stories on them, even though it's the same story. So it's just about doing it differently and uniquely and making it worth viewing and making it good. So yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about with this category here.
Yes, and in March we'll have to do all the Batman films, the new Batman film coming out.
Great.
So
that would be exciting.
Since I kicked off last time with Spielberg, do you want to kick things off with your number 8?
Yes, let's kick it off with my number 8. I believe this may be your number 8 as well, and I'm sure it's everybody else's number 8 too. This movie came out in 2007. It came out May 4, 2007. This is the third installment into the first chunk of movies that we got in the Sam Raimi trilogy. My least favorite Spider-Man movie, and a movie that I just don't think is a good movie at all, is Spider-Man 3. Tobey Maguire as Venom or as Spider-Man is great, but no, his version of Venom was horrible. Topher Grace was in that movie as well as Venom, but yeah, when Tobey Maguire went into the black character, when he was all blacked out, didn't work.
But
Emo
I love
Spider-Man,
the dance he does. The dance he does is
no,
hilarious.
it's so dumb, so corny. He looked awkward doing it. Yeah, this movie, it had more villains than it needed because, we had Sandman, we had the Son. What's his name? James Franco.
Yeah, James Franco.
There was just too many villains and just too much for young Spider-Man to deal with. But it was just getting tiring. It's like 1 and 2, and 2 is so freaking good. You can't really top it, and they didn't, and it just didn't work. Spider-Man 3 is my number 8.
Yeah,
but it did really well. Its budget was $258 million, and it grossed $895 million. So it definitely made its money back, but yeah, wasn't my cup of tea.
But
I love the poster.
I like this movie a little bit more.
What?
Yeah, I'll explain later, but I want to tell you about my number 8.
Let's hear it.
So this is the start of the second Spider-Man franchise, and this came out in 2012, and it's The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't really gel with this movie. I like its climax, and I like the lizard, but I just don't really like its introduction. It feels like the same thing as Maguire, but he's a bit more confident. And I like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but not as Peter, because he looks too confident and attractive, where Peter's meant to be this geeky little kid. And I just kind of feel like the whole storyline about his parents and everything is just a bit too far-fetched, and I just feel like introducing all these subplots that go nowhere really affect the entertainment value of the movie, and I think this is why I find this the weakest Spider-Man movie. So my number 8 is Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, I'll hop on with you because my number 7 is The Amazing Spider-Man. And I mean, it's for all the same things that you talk about. But what I did like was that we got a little bit of Emma Stone in this. You know, I like her as an actress. Ralph Fiennes is always really good, but the lizard character just really didn't do it for me. If you're gonna give me a cool villain, I want a cool villain. I like Rhys Ifans. I think he's a really good actor, but it was fine. This movie came out in 2012, and I mean, it just had so much buzz because of it was a new installment. We were going to have the Amazing Spider-Man, which is a little bit darker, a little bit not as kind of like Disney. What kind of I felt like Raimi was doing, especially towards the end there in the third installment of Spider-Man 3. But yeah, I mean, it was one of the highest-grossing films of that year, unfortunately. But yeah, it was like 230 million was its budget, and it made 758 million dollars. And I like Andrew Garfield, and I'm really glad that he was not stolen to this world. You know, like I'm kind of sad that Tom Holland's kind of stolen to this world, but I'm glad Andrew Garfield didn't because I think he's a really good actor, and I think like especially this year, Tick Tick Boom Boom,
That was good.
he's so phenomenal, and The Eyes of Tammy Faye, he's really really
I
good
want to
in it
see
as
that.
well.
I want to see that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
not forget about his past work outside of Spider-Man. So I love him in The Social Network, and I thought he was amazing in Hacksaw Ridge.
Yes, very, very good. And I think he was Oscar nominated for that. But also, yeah, Under the Silver Lake is a really good, like, independent movie that was really good with him. But yeah, it's fine. It's after waiting for, you know, like 5 years or whatever to have another Spider-Man come out and for this to come out, it was just a little bit disappointing. But it was good to see Emma Stone, and I'm glad Andrew Garfield is not a part of this universe anymore.
Yeah, although he might come back.
Wait, shush. We don't know. Shush. Those could just be stock photos.
I think he's lying personally, but we won't get into that. You ready for my number 7?
Hit it.
All right. Let's just get to the point. It's the sequel, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I like this just a little better because I really like the opening shot when he's like falling from the sky. I think that's incredible. But I think it comes in with the Spider-Man 3 problem where there's too many villains and not enough focus on the Gwen and Peter thing. So they literally break up in every scene and get back together in the other. And then they just introduce Harry out of nowhere. And don't get me wrong, I like Dane DeHaan. He's a really good actor, but I just don't think he suits the role of Harry. Jamie Foxx tried his hardest, but the design was a bit too corny. And I just feel like with all these like corny villains and these like plot lines that don't go anywhere, I can see why people would have this at number 8. But I think I prefer it because it's got kind of more of a nicer vibe to it, and I can kind of like tell they were trying to set up a Spider-Man universe, and I do kind of appreciate them for trying. So that's why I put it at number 7.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna jump again with you, and my number 6 is the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Same thing is I like it a little bit better than the Amazing Spider-Man. I do completely agree. You know, Electro Jamie Foxx really tried his hardest in this. It just you're right. The CGI on it just wasn't working. But what was cool in this whole Amazing Spider-Man universe is like we got to see Spider-Man do some of his fun tricks that we hadn't seen him do in those first 3. You know, get the sewer top and throw it around and swing it. Like there was more of those tricks and stuff that we see, and even in the video games, if you play them. The Amazing Spider-Man, you get to play. It just seemed more sort of fun and interactive than the first 3. But yeah, I like the scene with Electro and Spider-Man in the center of Times Square. I think that's really, really good and really, really well done. And for that scene alone, I liked it more than Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. But yeah, just these last 3 films that we're talking about are just so forgettable. At least in my opinion, Spider-Man 3 as well. They're just so forgettable and just almost like they just don't even exist in this world, in this universe, because the ones that we're going to start talking about here soon are just almost masterpieces in their own right. So. But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man is my Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my number 6. It was made for $293 million and grossed $709 million.
Yeah, it didn't really make that much money, did it?
Well, not compared to the first one. Yeah, people are really trepidatious about this one.
Yeah, no wonder they were quick to reboot it. So I'm just going to round off your number 8 with my number 6, Spider-Man 3. Granted, it is absolutely a terrible movie, but I really have fun with it because of the little small jokes, like the scene where he's like taking pills, J.K. Simmons' character, and the buzz keeps going off. Like, I always laugh my head off at that, and I do kind of like the little dance he does to that. It's just really bad. Like this whole film is bad, but it's kind of a bad film I like watching and kind of have like a guilty pleasure for because I really like the ambition they were trying to do. Plus, I think I think I'm not the only person that does this. But every time I see Topher Grace, I just think of that '70s show, and he was too much like his character in that '70s show to be Venom.
Yeah, it was when he was trying to transition out of that. I do want to say, just real quick, backtracking on the Amazing Spider-Man. Sally Field was in those movies, and that's always a plus, is having Sally Field around. But yeah, I mean, all the stuff that you're saying is just silly. It's all silliness. You like it because it's silly, and that's not, this is just, it was too silly for me. It was just
Yeah,
like he was trying to have too much fun. Sam Raimi, it's like we don't need this. We just want, normal Spider-Man action superhero. You gave us this.
yeah, but in fairness to the comic, he's meant to be a comedic character, Spider-Man. So I can see where what Raimi was trying to do.
Not like that.
Yeah, plus Tobey Maguire is more of a serious actor than a comedic actor anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So the first two being more dramatic kind of suit him, but we'll talk about them in a sec. What's your number 5?
All right, my number 5 is the latest installment in this whole Spider-Man franchise. This movie came out in 2019. It stars our Spider-Man now, Mr. Tom Holland, also starring Mr. What's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal. And of course, Zendaya, Samuel L. Jackson. This is Spider-Man Far From Home. They go to Italy and they have yours as well?
Yes, mine as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing where this is all headed here. We know what's the worst ones. We know which ones are the best ones. Yeah, this movie is fine. It's perfectly fine. It's a great continuation from the first one. The first one is just
It
too
is.
damn good, where this one just can't, just doesn't live up to it. But
No, it doesn't.
it was a great continuation, and I really like going overseas to other places and like seeing other, like he's so used to New York. We don't get to see him outside of New York much, and now he's in London and he's in Italy and he gets to have he gets to web around in different areas. Plus, he's like also like the dark monkey or something in that one. And yeah, I mean, of course, I love Zendaya. She's been, and I think her and Tom Holland are now together. But yeah, this is a fun movie. I really liked it. They tried to play with the drones a lot and have that be something. And then Jake Gyllenhaal, we had the twist with him, and that was interesting. And it was a fun film. This movie it came out a couple years ago. Budget was 160 million and made 1.1 billion dollars. So it is a surefire hit and a good film. One that I mean, all these top 5 I would rewatch over and over and over again, and this is one of them.
Yeah, yeah. The only problem I have is I feel that they rely too much on the CGI, and it can be a bit overbearing, especially when he's going for all them illusion scenes. It's just a bit too much on the eyes. And I feel like it does kind of take Spider-Man into a brand new direction, which I like, but you don't get to see much of Spider-Man. It's more of a Peter Parker movie. And if it wasn't for that twist at the end, I feel like this movie would have not lived up to the hype.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and it's set up for the new one. Very, very much so. So, yeah, number 5 is Spider-Man Far From Home from both of us.
Yep, we hopefully we don't match on the rest of them. What's your number 4?
I guess we'll find out right here. This movie is a ton of fun. Broke barriers, really kind of established the whole Spider-Man name and made it so we can create other Spider-Mans and have other Spider-Mans in other worlds, because they created a whole Spider-Verse and they animated it. So my number 4 is 2018 Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We talked about it recently, you know, that we love the song in it. We love the characters and the creatures in it. We love, you know, all the different Spider-Man in it. You know, Spider Noir, or the Noir Man was my
Spider-Ham.
Well, Spider-Ham and the Noir was, you know, all really good. Yeah, I mean, it's groundbreaking the way what happened with this movie, because now we have Miles Morales. He's a black young kid who's Spider-Man now, relatable in ways that some can relate to. But yeah, it's just so unique, so well done. You know, definitely different than all the other animated movies that we see. Plus, it had comedy and good acting, good voice acting. And yeah, I mean, it was one of everyone's favorites of that year. It was just unique and new and different, and it was fun. And yeah, one that I would love to rewatch over and over. So my number 4 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a good pick. That's a very good pick. I will talk about that more in a sec. But are you ready for my number 4?
I am ready.
So I've been jumbling around with the top 4, and I think based on entertainment value, rewatchability, and legacy, I think I came up with a fourth one. Kind of upsets me which is the one I put, because it's the one that started us all. It's the first Spider-Man film from 2002.
Yeah.
I love this movie because of how it really broke barriers for superhero films altogether. It was one of the first ever like proper superhero movies, and I do always treasure it because of it. And Willem Dafoe is probably one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, for damn sure. And I also like Kirsten Dunst, Tobey Maguire. I'm not big on James Franco, J.K. Simmons, Rosemary Harris. Elizabeth Banks is in these movies as well, and she's also great. And Bill Nunn, and he's great as well. The cast is iconic. The shots, the style is iconic. And let's not forget about Danny Elfman's score. I think that is probably the best superhero score ever.
Yeah. It's a solid pick. That's your number 4.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
my number 4.
My number 3.
Sweet.
The first Spider-Man. I was working at the movie theaters when this movie came out, and it was just huge. And I watched it over and over and over again. It was like, I don't know Spider-Man. I didn't know Spider-Man before this. Like, I wasn't into comics when I was a kid, so except for Batman and Superman. So these other characters, yes, I knew them, but I didn't really know. So that was the first time that I found out what happened and how he became a Spider-Man. And then, you know, 8 movies later, we still are finding out how he becomes Spider-Man. But it was just unique. It was fresh. It started the craze. It was one of the ones that started the craze of the superheroes. And I mean, it elevated Tobey Maguire into a different realm and world that he ever thought he can go into. And then, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Kirsten Dunst, but, you know, she was great as Mary Jane and very dramatic. Definitely not what we see in like Zendaya's MJ. Sam Raimi really created a new world, and with the CGI that he was able to do, and like the way that he can make a human seem like it's ziplining and webbing through New York was just so well done and different and new and fresh. So that's why I'm giving it my number 3. Spider-Man, first one came out in 2002. This movie had a gross of 821 million after a 139 box office budget. So pretty good. 7.3 on IMDb. This was a movie that when the poster came out, it still had the two towers on it, and so they had to take them down and re-release a new poster. So if somebody has one out there that has the two towers on it, I'm sure it's worth something. But yeah, I just remember that happening when I was at the theater working there. But yeah, solid film. I can put it on right now and enjoy every single second of it. Spider-Man is my number 3.
What I remember is they changed the UK rating system from 12 to 12A. So it's so that it's because like superhero films are getting 12 certificates at a time. So obviously parents wanted to take their kids, but you had to be accompanied by an adult to see it.
Gotcha. That's so crazy. Yeah, PG-13 is ours out here.
Yeah, the whole rating system just seems a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
You ready for my number 3?
Hit me with that bronze.
So we've spoken about the sequel of the MCU film, and now let's talk about the top dog. My number 3 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. I love this movie because it really gives an indie film vibe on Spider-Man, and that's what I absolutely love and cherish. And I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man because he has the perfect balance of Peter and Spider-Man, and that's why he's my favorite portrayal of the characters. I also love Zendaya, and I love like how all the like characters are in it. So you have Iron Man's in this movie, and so is Happy, and I love Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. She's my favorite Aunt May, and I just think she's fantastic. Really suits that role.
Yeah, the old lady in the first Spider-Man. It's so funny. They got younger and younger. Aunt May just got younger and younger as each one went on. Oh man, it's a shame that this is your number 3. It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, this is not our introduction to him. It was Civil War, I believe. We were introduced to him, right?
Yes, we are. That's right. I decided not to include Civil War, the Avengers, or the Venoms, just to make it less complicated.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Carnage?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Well, he's in that, so I guess that could have counted.
Yeah, you're
but
right.
but I would have put that at. Well, there's 8 movies here. I would have put that at 15. Like that movie sucks.
It does.
And
It does. It
and
does.
if I'm saying it's worse than Spider-Man 3, then that's saying something because Spider-Man 3 is.
So
All
what's
right.
your number 2?
Well, speaking of that, my number 2 is Spider-Man 2.
Yay!
This movie, I mean, talk about. Well, yeah, but so my number 3 was Spider-Man. Talk about the villain, having be Willem Dafoe is one of the best all-time villains. But if there was a close second, Doc Ock is a close second, and he alone is the reason why Spider-Man 2 worked on all the levels that it worked on. This movie is 7.3 on IMDb. It's just when you have a great first movie, it would be awesome to have an awesome second one, and we got an awesome second one in this. The budget was $200 million. They grossed $789 million, so it made a lot of money, and that's the reason why Spider-Man 3 was around. But I mean, yeah, what's crazy is you have the relationship between Peter Parker and Doc Ock, and then you have the other relationship between Spider-Man and the villain of Doc Ock, and it's just the balance was so crazy and fun and interesting to see. Plus the subway system scene and where he gets like revealed, it was so heartwarming and so heartfelt. Like he was so vulnerable in that moment, but it was like I'm saving all of your lives as well here, and they all turned around and let him leave. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful moment, and it's like, yes, we see you, but we don't want to really know who it is, so we'll just turn around for you and you can leave. But thank you for saving our lives. And I felt like with that one, number 2 just has a little more heart.
It
The other
does.
ones,
It does.
the other ones are action and fun and great, but two just had so much heart, and you actually really understood Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man, and it really, really just works, and it's a fantastic film. And Alfred Molina is such a fantastic actor. He just elevated that performance so much, and yeah, it's my number two.
Nice, nice. And I'm going to jump on board with your number four, as my number two is Into the Spider-Verse. And I don't really want to talk about it too much, as I spoke about last time. It's got phenomenal animation, and when I rewatched it, I really liked the shots they were trying to pull off with the animation. It kind of felt really Wes Anderson-y. And I love the voice acting. Like, I think I do prefer the villains in the live action ones, as you can't really do much with Kingpin after doing him in a TV series with Daredevil. And but I do kind of like that version of Kingpin anyway. But I do kind of like the villains, like you got Prowler, you got Doc Ock as a woman, and you got Green Goblin as a mutated creature, which I find very nice twists on the characters. And I can go on all day about explaining why I love this movie. And if you want to hear more, in my opinion, you can obviously watch the animated films episode of 2010. But yeah, diverse cast, beautiful animation, and a very heartwarming story. And that's why it's my number second.
Yeah,
My
talk
number
about
two,
heart.
sorry.
That movie has so much heart as well. I mean, it's all heart. The heart is worn on the sleeve. It's just so well done, and yeah, it really elevated the game of animation and like Oscars for sure. So I guess we know what our number ones are.
Is yours Homecoming?
Yes, and is yours Spider-Man 2?
Yes. Do you want to go first and tell me why you loved Homecoming more than me?
Yeah. So it was Homecoming is just my favorite way of telling the story. You
Yes.
know, it's my favorite way of telling the Spider-Man story. It's the same story, but it's just told with such more beauty and simplicity. It didn't tell us everything, but because we already know the story, and that's why we actually were already introduced to him in Civil War. So when we saw him in Homecoming, it's like, oh yeah, well we know this character, we know him, and we got to see him more with his friends and his family environment. We got to see the loving relationship between him and Tony Stark. Plus, yeah, Aunt May smoking hot in that one, and yeah, it's my favorite Spider-Man. It's just Zendaya's in it, so she's Bay.
There's one thing
But
I forgot to mention about this one. Michael Keaton as the villain is in the top three.
yeah, Vulture, and I was thinking about this when we were just talking about Doc Ock and
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. It's like you get these phenomenal actors and you put them in a villain spot. Like Jake Gyllenhaal is good, but he's not like he'll get there, but he's not at the elevation of like a Michael Keaton or a Willem
No,
Dafoe,
he's
Alfred
nothing
Molina.
compared to them three.
Yeah, and he's just so good, and he kind of reminds you of Birdman a little bit, because he's Vulture.
I was
But
thinking more. I kind of like him because I feel like out of all the MCU villains, he's kind of like the most real world kind of character. Like he's just a normal bloke doing it for money. He's not trying to like rule the world or trying to kill like loads of people. He's just trying to make an honest living.
yeah, by murdering. But yeah, he's kind of like the Iron Man of the superheroes. He just has a lot of fun gadgets, but he's just a normal dude. He doesn't have like superpowers really.
Well, same with Jake Gyllenhaal as well.
Yeah, he just has gadgets, just like Batman. But anyway, yeah, I just love Tom Holland, love Zendaya. I love Homecoming. It was so anticipated, this movie, because it had been so long, since we got like an actual good one. So
Spider-Man movie.
right, it was 10 years, well, a decade since 2007, but since a good one, I think 2004 is when Spider-Man 2 came out. So it was 13 years since we got a good Spider-Man movie, and it was so good. Yeah, Tom Holland really just he just gave himself a name for this role, and it sucks that we lost him to it. But you know what? I'm excited for Uncharted. I really liked Chaos Theory for Chaos Walking from this last year, and Devil All the Time. Like he does have, or in Cherry, I love Cherry. He definitely has acting chops and ability. So I hope he's not married to this universe, but I mean, if you keep making movies like Homecoming, I'll watch it. So my number one is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, yeah. But it is a good entry in the MCU, there's no doubt about it.
Yes. What's your number one?
My number one is Spider-Man 2. Because if it wasn't for Spider-Man 2, superhero films would not be the same. This movie, you're right, we've done the origin story now, we don't need to repeat that. Let's just get to the point. Spider-Man is being Spider-Man, he's trying to balance his personal life and his life being a superhero. He keeps getting fired from his job. He doesn't really get to spend time with Mary Jane. His best friend's being suspicious about his father's death. And, he's just trying to live his life and be Spider-Man. And obviously there's this incident. He sees his idol, Otto Octavius, but an experiment goes wrong, kills his wife and injures him and leaves him stuck with these metal tentacles that are controlling his mind. And he becomes one of the best supervillains in the film to exist. And I'm looking forward to him coming back Far From Home. No Way Home, sorry. And I just think he's an iconic villain. This is an iconic film. I'm not really big on James Franco as Harry. I think I prefer him in any other movie besides the Spider-Man films. I don't know, I just feel like his acting's not that good.
Yeah, he was a little bit iffy on that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It seemed like something was going on in his life during that time. He just didn't seem all the way there, James Franco, when he was making these. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure, but yeah, I mean, solid choice.
And
Obviously,
it
it was
and it
my number two.
revolutionized superhero movies for what they are now.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
anything, future superhero films should learn from Spider-Man 2.
I agree. Yeah, and sequels should learn from Spider-Man too. Like sequels, again, what we talked about. If you have a good first, we want a good second,
We
or
get that with
close.
Star Wars and Terminator.
Right? Yeah. Well, or better, because Terminator 2 is arguably better than the first.
Oh, 100%
Um,
it is.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's this one works. We all know it works. Leonard Maltin's a film critic that I listen to a lot. He loves this movie, and he's not like a superhero sort of guy, but he loves this movie. He loves Alfred Molina's performance, and we all understand why. So it's a good number one to have.
Yep, it is. It is. And do you want to count these down?
Let's count them down. My number 8 is Spider-Man 3,
My number 8 is Amazing Spider-Man,
which was my number 7,
and my number 7 is Amazing Spider-Man 2,
which was my number 6.
and my number 6 is Spider-Man 3,
My number 5 is Spider-Man Far From Home.
as is mine.
My number 4 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
My number 4 is the 2002 Spider-Man film, the film that started it all.
My number 3 is Spider-Man.
My number 3 is Spider-Man Homecoming.
My number 2 is Spider-Man 2.
My number 2 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And my number 1 is Spider-Man Homecoming, because
And
Zendaya is back.
my number 1 is the revolutionary Spider-Man 2.
Definitely. It is so revolutionary. And probably one of Sam Raimi's best films, you know?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. What's the recommendation this week, Justin?
Oh, man. I haven't seen many movies this week, but let me just check. I'm sure I have something that I can talk about.
Do you have an old movie that you love and cherish you want to recommend?
Well, you know what? Last movie I saw was Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Jim Carrey film. So I recommend that. But since it is the holiday season, let me talk about my favorite holiday movie and one of my all-time favorite movies ever, and it's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Now, this movie it's fun for kids to watch because there's visuals and like gags and stuff. But if you're an adult, you will appreciate this movie even more. It is so funny, so quirky. Chevy Chase has never done better. He is like, we don't see kind of like this comedy anymore. We don't see these kind of comedic actors like, Chevy Chase and Steve Martin, Martin Short. Like, these guys are no longer around anymore. We kind of get like a Will
Martin
Ferrell.
Short's been doing the odd thing on TV.
Sure. Yeah. And well, Martin Short and Steve Martin are now on a TV show on Hulu or whatever. Chevy Chase is just so freaking funny in this movie. And I can quote this movie all day long, but it is definitely my favorite holiday movie, definitely one of my favorite all-time movies. So my recommendation for this week, since it's the holiday season, is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Nice, nice. I do enjoy the first Vacation movie. I keep meaning to watch the others.
Run out and see it. So good. Okay, cool. So next time we will be doing British actresses.
Yes. But next time we meet up, we are going to be filming the Fleming Awards, which is coming out on Christmas Day.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah, this is your award show. This is your award show. The Fleming Awards.
The Fleming Awards.
Cool. I can't wait. Cool. Yeah. So that's what we'll do next time. And then, we'll get out the British actresses after that. And before you know it, the holidays are over.
Yeah, so and then it's award season again,
which is my favorite time of the year. So yeah, I guess happy holidays to everybody out there. Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and Rob, anything else?
Make sure you let us know what your favorite Spider-Man film is in the comments. Let us know some more topics you want us to discuss for January onwards. And obviously, hopefully, we'll try and have Cody and Felipe back at some point as well.
Yeah, and Kraft. Will Kraft.
Yeah, we'll have to try and get him back on.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, yeah, happy holidays, everybody, and happy holidays to you, Rob. And until next time.
Until next time. Bye, Justin.
Bye, Rob.
Bye-bye.